notice that without you having to change your experience in any way at all, without you trying to change your experience in any way at all, can you just notice that there's something within your experience which is okay? The only problem in this moment is that you're seeking a different experience than the one you're having. The only problem is you're thinking that this experience needs to be different than how it is. And the remedy to that problem is noticing that within your experience right now, exactly as it is, without having to change it, without having to be in a more spiritual state, without having to be in an expanded state of consciousness, without having to see yourself as everything, without having to see yourself as nothing, without having to disappear, without having to be no one. All these landmark experiences that we hear about on the path that we want. What if just in this moment, you don't need any of that? What if in this moment it's okay for there to be a self here? What if in this moment it's okay that there's a feeling of separation here? What if in this moment it's okay that there's an identification with the body here? What if in this moment it's completely okay that you're having the exact human experience that you're having right now? Who's told you that your experience isn't good enough? Who's told you that you need a different experience than the one you're having? So as well as this, you can also just notice that without trying to change your experience in any way, there's something here, without you having to create it, that is already okay. There's something here which is subtly okay, subtly smiling, subtly joyful, a slight sense of goodness inside of your own heart. Now it's much wiser, instead of trying to get an experience that you've heard somebody else has in the future, it's much wiser, instead of doing that, to just simply appreciate what's here now. Because you can't make spiritual experiences happen. And that's okay. If you fully come into an appreciation of the little bit of goodness which is here right now inside of your heart, that little place of okayness that's here right now inside of your heart, and give your attention to that instead of giving your attention to a fantasy of an experience that you think you should be having. Instead of giving your attention to a fantasy in the mind of the way that life should be or could be, giving your attention to that within your experience which is already completely okay and fulfilled, even if it's the tiniest little bit inside. The tiniest little bit of warmth that you can just feel inside. Now the beauty of this is that that tiny little bit of warmth that you can just feel inside is completely enough. And when you appreciate that, and you come into an appreciation of just that tiny little place inside that feels okay, that tiny little place of warm okayness inside, that tiny little place of goodness inside, when you fully appreciate that, you recognize that that's enough and you can relax. The seeking for something more relaxes down. You might not be having the big experience that you want, or that you did want, but you don't mind because there's an appreciation of the goodness that is always here. And then what you might find happening is that as you water and give your attention to that little place of goodness inside, that little place of goodness naturally grows and flowers into experience. And your beingness naturally comes forward into experience, and that sense of fulfillment grows. But you don't need it to grow, because in the simple appreciation of that tiny little place of goodness, that tiny little place of okayness, that slight smile that you can just feel inside, and your appreciation of that is enough. That's enough. And you just rest your attention there. You place your attention there. There is no point in fantasizing about an experience that you might get in the future. There is no point in fantasizing about an enlightenment that you might get in the future. There's no point in fantasizing about liberation that might happen in the future. It's pointless. All you're doing, if you give your attention to that, is you're feeding that fantasy. You're feeding a fantasy in your mind. Don't feed a fantasy in the mind. That fantasy in the mind is suffering. Don't feed the fantasy of enlightenment in the mind. Don't feed the fantasy of freedom or whatever it is in the mind. Feed and water what's already here. Feed and water the presence that's already here. Your presence that's already here. The presence that is listening to this video. The presence that resonates when it hears spiritual talks. That resonates when it reads spiritual book, and there's that resonance there. That resonance is it. That resonance is this. That resonance is this freedom already arising within your experience. So just enjoy that. Place your attention on that. Place your attention on your experience as it is. And even if you feel separate, even if you feel not good, even if you feel like this can't be it, I need something else, then even within that experience of no, this isn't right, this isn't it, can you just sense something, even if it's little, something in your experience which is okay? Something in your experience which isn't arguing with this moment. This little place inside that isn't arguing with this moment. And you place your attention there. And then, as I say, that little place which isn't arguing with your experience becomes more and more obvious. And that seeking energy, which has been going out like this, just starts to settle down. Just starts to settle down.